Is it on?
Yes, there are microphones.
Yes. Sorry, what is? Or you all can just ask us the questions. It's easier. Please don't be scared of us. So it's nice that you can just ask questions. You can put your hand up. Yeah. Rather than we have a set questions to answer. Yes.
Can we start with a little bit of your background and how you got to?
How do we come here?
Yeah.
Some of them do not know you all.
But at the time, so they don't get which I can tell you to stay here whole night to tell you. My name is Ayya Seri. I'm a bhikkhuni. I was ordained in 2009 October. So it's the first 4 bhikkhunis that ordained at Bodhinyana Monastery, in famous ordination. I actually from Perth. Originally, I was born in Malaysia, and I came here to study as an overseas student, and I migrated here. For all of you that are from Singapore, you'll be interested to know that I actually worked in Singapore for 3 years, and I learned meditation in Singapore. And while you all travel all the way here for your meditation retreat, I stayed there for 3 years because at that time, I wanted to learn more about Buddhism, and I don't know anything about Ajahn Brahm or the Nolamara or Buddhist Society at that time. So I joined a group of Singaporeans to Taiwan for a pilgrimage, and that's how I met. Didn't get a chance to meet up with the master. I'm not sure you heard of. Speaking Chinese, because I know Chinese, 慈光山 or 人称幸福讲堂. That's where I learned there's a chant. So breath is a meditation. And they spend a lot of time to meditate as well. So it's just a different type of Buddhism. And when I came back, because of that, I spent 3 years there. And in Singapore, work really hard. So I decided to migrate back to Perth. I got a grandmother here. And when I was in Perth, I met Ayya. So I got 2 main teachers. So of course, I met Ajahn Brahm. And I met Ayya. She's a bhikkhuni. She's the founder of Dhammasaranand's monastery. And I met her at Dhammaloka. And I used to be a member of BSWA, worked in the library. And I went to her talks, and of course I went to all the Friday night talk. And I met her, and I went on a pilgrimage with Ajahn Brahm and Ayya in 2002, and I was really inspired. Of course, we got a chance to meditate on all sorts of places, and my favorite place is Vulture's Peak. And I have a very good experience, so I told Ayya, I want more of that. So that's how I applied. There's lots of other stories, such as I actually is a pharmacist. I graduated from Perth, from Curtin University. And then I did my naturopathy. And then I wanted to do Chinese medicine at IMIT in Melbourne. And Ayya is the one that to stop me, because at the time I say, if I want to study Chinese medicine, I need to leave Perth to travel to stay in Melbourne, because to learn Chinese medicine, you need to learn acupuncture and all those things. You need to be there. I did do half a semester, and then I went to see her at a dana with one of the lay supporters dana place, and I asked her whether should I go. Most people say yes, go. There's good things to do. She told me that I have enough skills to help other people it is time for me to focus on my practice. And I took her, somehow, whatever she said, do go straight into my heart. I took it seriously. I applied to be an Anagarika at Dhammasara the same year, and I was in Dhammasara the next year. I think, so at the time, Niroda, she's the first nun that, or first Anagarika there, so I was the second one at Dhammasara Nuns Monastery. And I was with Ayya Vayama all the way until she passed away. I looked after her. And we left as Ayya Vayama's conditions worsened, we left the monastery. And then in a smaller place, and I looked after her until she passed away last year. And Ajahn Brahm kindly adopted me, as after that I don't have a place to go to. And Jhana Grove is wonderful. It's a wonderful place that I have the chance to stay here to practice and to spend time on my own and take a rest and refresh. And the bhikkhu is, they are very supportive. I told them that I appreciate their friendship and accepted me as part of the team or into the community. I just collect dana there and they will come back to Jhana Grove to practice. So that's my story so far. I will be still here. I'm not leaving yet. As Patachara, I'm a resident nun, so we established a place called Patachara Bhikkhuni Hermitage, me and Ayya Vayama. Ayya Vayama is my teacher, so I went into the monastery since 2002, so I have been with her all the way until she passed away last year, so 20 years. Even though I do know Ajahn Brahm, I attended a lot of her 9 days retreat before this, but I spent most of the time with Ayya Vayama. And so after she passed away, we actually don't have a property, so now we are fundraising to have a property, just a small place for 2 or 3 nuns eventually. So that's why I'm here and see what happens. So very nice to meet all of you. So now is let Rinpoche Canda have a chance to say.
That's okay. Thank you. Hello. I think most of you know me, possibly, because I tend to come here every year. Is that loud enough? Yeah? I've been coming here every year since 2012 for the rains. So, originally I'm from England, but it's strange because even growing up I didn't really feel very English, and I felt like a bit of a misfit in that country. I remember seeing a newspaper. That's right, yeah. I always used to want to eat rice with my fingers. I didn't want to use a spoon or fork. And then I saw like an article on the front of a newspaper magazine or something of someone eating with their fingers rice. And I thought, why can't I do that? See, they do it. And somehow I always had this question in my mind, I guess, growing up about why I'm here. And luckily I had a best friend at school, and we had a similar kind of questioning mind. So we used to talk a lot about, the meaning of life. And I guess it got to the age of about 15 when that question became really burning. And that's also the time that we start to feel a little bit of pressure sometimes to study for the GCSEs, the O-levels, and make decisions about the subjects we want to study and go to university. And I just felt I didn't know myself well enough to make that decision. I still didn't know why I'm actually here, how I got here, what's the point of life, and, why is there so much suffering? And my family weren't religious, so there weren't really any answers around me, and I didn't really resonate with Christianity either. So I guess my spiritual search started at the same time as my teenage rebellion. So that must have confused my family, because at 15, 16, 17, I had pink hair, black hair, all kinds of hair, and a bit like Ajahn Brahm, all the kind of rock gear and velvet and lace and sequins. And my mum was thinking, goodness me, what's this? And then suddenly, myself and my best friend decided to make a trip to India. at the age of about 19. And when I got to that place, somehow it was very overwhelming at first because so much was happening and life was literally, in the street in front of my face. Life and death and, animals and dirt and joy and sorrow. Nothing's hidden. And that was quite overwhelming. But after a short time, I started to sense that the people there had like a sense of being part of something. In the West, we can become very individualized and almost kind of cut off from society and so much focus on, our own achievements and our own success. And yet in India, it felt like people had a sense that there's something beyond them, something bigger than them. And there was also a community spirit. So things like impermanence and suffering were kind of obvious in the external context. But after about a year, I started feeling tired of, just traveling and seeing different things. And I wanted to start going in. So I heard about Vipassana meditation taught by Ajahn Brahm. That was my introduction to the Dhamma. And I did my first retreat. I was 20. And it was in the Himalayan foothills in a small meditation center. And total silence, 12 hours a day, sitting through pain, through everything. Whatever comes up, you just sit and observe. And the practice is about getting in touch with the feelings in the body, noticing that they're impermanent, and learning how to stay, Ajahn Brahm would say, contented with that. Equanimous, cool, non-reactive, and notice just how, these feelings in the body are kind of pulling our mind either in a wholesome direction or mostly, in my case at that time, an unwholesome direction. So I started realizing, that even though before I thought that my happiness was very much dependent on external things, now I started to notice that actually my happiness was to do with the way I was reacting to my inner experience. And this was completely revelationary for me, because I realized that if the suffering is being caused by my own reactions to my experience in life, then also I have some influence over my happiness as well. Yeah? So by staying present and by staying cool with whatever's arising and passing and noticing that it's changing all the time, I started to develop a sense of meaning, but also a sense of real steadiness and centeredness, and felt that I could relate to all kinds of different people with less judgment, with more compassion. And it was just a fascinating process to start to see the mind. So basically I stayed in India and Nepal and Thailand for many years cultivating that practice. And those meditation retreat centers are run entirely on a donation basis, which I think is fantastic. So people from every walk of life, all different Jains. I once served a retreat for Jain monks and nuns, and they had the brush that they'd sweep the invisible beings under the seat before sitting down. And they were actually wandering monks and nuns. There were Christian priests, nuns, there were people from Iran. I once did a retreat and there was an Iranian discourse every evening, so I'd sit with the Iranian people and play the discourse. And village women, illiterate women, who, somebody offered the train fare and they could come to the retreat. So I had this sense that Dhamma was something very universal, and the practice, was beyond religion, beyond kind of culture or age or any of that. And the beauty was that you only made a donation if it worked. So these centers were developing, and I was having such a wonderful time just serving and seeing all these people get benefit and realizing that our suffering and our mind is pretty much the same, Wherever we come from, whoever we are, we're all human beings with a certain range of emotions, a certain kind of potential for awakening, no matter who we are. So this was one aspect of that particular teaching that really resonated. I'm talking too much. And then it was only the whole time, actually, that I was practicing in Asia, I had the aspiration to ordain. That's always the question, right? Am I good? Yeah. So I had this aspiration growing. And the more I practiced, the more I thought, why stop practicing? Like, there's nothing really interesting me in the world. But the problem was I couldn't find a monastery. Most of the monasteries were for monks. But I did have a sense that in Myanmar, which was where my lineage came from, there was more options. So eventually I went there. And, the atmosphere was just, everyone was saying, why don't you ordain? If you ordain, we can get the robes made. So eventually, after about 10 years, I found a teacher. And I knew this is my chance, So I ordained in Myanmar in 2004, first of all, and then in 2000, that was just for 3 months. And then in 2006, and that was the big one. So I ordained there. And at that time, it felt like a full renunciation. I didn't feel that anything was lacking in that ordination, even though it was only 8 precepts. So that means not eating after 12 noon. But I didn't have money, but I could handle money if people would give donations. I didn't need to very much. So it felt like quite a strong renunciation. And it was only later that I really realized that it's not the full thing. So it was while I was in Myanmar practicing that I got very sick. Actually, the lifestyle was extremely austere. We did a lot of meditation. And I had a wonderful, wonderful sayador who treated the nuns sometimes even better than the monks, in the sense that he would make sure that those who were really sincere got enough support. So if you were a meditator and if you were sincere in practice, then that was the most important thing. So I never felt any discrimination. But because I got sick and because of the intensity of the climate and the food, I've still got gastric condition, it was very hard to stay there. And around the same time that I was wondering what to do, I got hold of these cassettes, actually CDs, by someone called Ajahn Brahm. And at that time I was quite prejudiced against Western monks because I'd heard some of the teachings and it felt like, it's nice about community life and about being happy and living peacefully, but I wasn't hearing stuff about jhanas and enlightenment, which I was used to from Myanmar, right, because it's a traditional Buddhist culture. So I was like, I don't really want to play this, it's probably not very good, but I'll give it a try, Then I played a talk by Ajahn Brahm. He says, normally I like to talk about jhanas and enlightenment, but today I'm talking about meditation off the cushion. And then he talked about, actually similar to this afternoon, about living in harmony, looking after one another, and metta, the practice of metta. And this was something that was a little bit missing in that monastery, which was just about meditation. And I thought, wow, that was really, I had full piti through the body and mind. And I started listening to a few more and staying up even later and getting up even earlier just so I could listen to one of these talks in English that was going straight to my heart. That was about 2010. And then I left Myanmar, mainly because of my health, but also at that time it was probably equally compelling to try and meet Ajahn Brahm. So I met him in 2010 in Germany. And I'd already written him a few letters. Actually, I wrote some letters to Dhammasara, and you actually answered one of my letters. Yes.
I never...
you wouldn't connect
I
it.
only met you properly
Yeah.
this race here.
Yeah, that's
so,
right.
So we seem to know each other for a long time, but we don't.
Yeah. So
Interesting,
it is how the paths cross and meet. So... so I met him and he kind of knew that I'd left my teacher in Myanmar to train under him, and I felt he sort of took me under his wing even then. But it was another couple of years and another retreat or two with him before I could get here for the rains. So 2012 I did my first rains. Then you'd left Dhammasara, but I joined Dhammasara in 2013.
I left in 2010.
Yeah. So I was one of the later batches. I was the third bhikkhuni batch, So by then I realized that, if someone like Ajahn Brahm says that bhikkhuni ordination is important, then obviously it must be. And the thing is that I'd never really thought about it because it simply wasn't an option, in Myanmar or anywhere else that I'd been. But of course, when I heard about bhikkhunis practicing in Perth, it was just, obviously that's what you do if you had the chance. This is the Buddha's training system that he laid down for us. So it was just obvious. And finally, in 2014, I took the full ordination. And skipping on, 2016, Ajahn asked me to go to England and try and start a monastery there, which, now my background was very weird because I hadn't actually lived in England since I was about 18, really. So for me, it was almost like a foreign country and probably the least attractive place to be. But it felt like such an opportunity to show my gratitude and pay respect to Ajahn, and also to have him guide me, because it's not so easy as a bhikkhuni to have much contact. And I had that sense even from before I ordained in Myanmar, that association with truly wise people really makes the difference on the path. So so that's what I'm still doing, and it's been 7 years and not easy at all. But now we have a little place in Oxford. It's a 3-bed townhouse. There's one other little room that can be used as a study. It's not really 4-bedroom because that one's a small room. I've not actually been there yet. So my trustees, they bought it during my retreat. I've been here on 6-month retreat, probably not as deep or as perfectly in solitude as Ajahn Brahm, but it was a lot of solitude. So I'll be going back in 2 weeks to see the new vihara, the first in England for bhikkhunis. So I'm actually the English bhikkhuni. There are a few more, but they're not in England. There are like 3 more, I think. 3 or 4. One's in Canada, maybe 2 are in Canada. There's 1 or 2 here that also have a British passport, but they live here. So basically in England, I'm the only bhikkhuni. So yes, if I can't find someone to train with me, I'll have to find an elephant or a monkey to offer my food. Okay.
It wasn't that exciting, so compared to the story, I haven't left Perth.
Oh, it was exciting.
I'm the lucky one who have been always in Perth. So I always have Ayya and Ajahn Brahm. And so all these years, and I've been to India, but haven't really explored. So lucky in a way, but I do not want to go to places that will not respect bhikkhuni too. So initially, when I was in Singapore, in the Mahayana tradition, they told me that the Theravada do not respect women. So initially, I didn't really look for Theravada tradition. So I came from a Mahayana tradition because of people told me that Theravada do not respect women. So I stayed with the Mahayana group until I returned here. And I met up with someone showed me the photos of their pilgrimage to India. And then I saw that, I say, wow, I would like to go. And that's how I have started to have connection with Buddhist Society of Western Australia, because I want to go to India. And so I joined the group, and that's how I met both Ajahn Vayama and Ayya Vayama and Ajahn Brahm. And I haven't left, so I'm still here. I'm still enjoying Perth. So we have lots of in common because we are starting a small place. So we have a chance to share our experiences and become kalyanamishas, become friends, to exchange our stories. So that's very nice.
Another coincidence is that I studied as well between those 2 ordinations I mentioned, I'd started a degree in England, and it was in Indian medicine. So we're very similar, in our interests, It's amazing.
Yes, I did do, after my pharmacy, I did naturopathy. So I did practice as a naturopath. That's why and then wanted to be a witch doctor. So that's why I keep on going to study to be a Chinese doctor. But Ayya stopped me on my track, which is good. I have no regrets. I must say one of the greatest blessings is for me to meet the Dharma and to have the opportunity to ordain. So I have, this is quite a long time ago since I walked through the door to be the gate of Dhammasara to be Anagarika, that's 2002, and this is 2022. So there's 20 years down the track. I still remember that my family members say, I will not make it because I don't like the cold. They give me 2 months, I will go home. So there's 20 years down the track, even though I still feel the cold, but...
But you're warm inside. I wondered if anyone had any questions because, I don't know about Ayya Seri. I always think I have nothing to say, and then I realise there's quite a lot I could say, but I'd prefer to know if there's anything other people want to hear.
Yes.
There's one question here, and then I have one question here.
Yes.
My question is, what feeling do you have to know that you found the right teacher?
Well, for me, it's easy. I went on a pilgrimage with Ayya. I actually met her first time at Bodhiana Monastery when she was still here during the first rains. And I was so excited to say there's a nun here. So I came for the Katina ceremony as a layperson. And I saw this nun up there. I was too shy to speak to her because there's so many people queuing up. But I think it's very important, to me anyway, to have a teacher. I did consider whether should I ordain in this tradition because I'm from Mahayana background too. So I read and speak Chinese Mandarin really well. So I could have a choice to go to Taiwan. But I thought I got a teacher in front of me. And there's Ajahn Brahm as well, besides Ayya. So where else do I want to go? And I'm from Perth. I don't need to have the problems of applying visa. If I need to go to Taiwan to ordain, you need to have, I think, college qualification. And then they only give you 4 years visa. I still remember that because I attempted to go to Taiwan to ordain. So then there's a nuns monastery just starting in Gijaganup. So I say, well, why not? So I did ask, because of what she said, I said, yes, I'll try. I've got lots of stories to tell, but I don't want to bore you. So that's my, yeah, in a way, good karma. I must agree. It's a good karma that I met Ayya. I don't need to think too much about, looking for a teacher because she's in front of me. And I benefited. So that's why I was all the way with her until she passed away. So I learned a lot. I'm very fortunate. They have a bhikkhuni teacher.
Yeah, so for me, it's strange because I knew I'd found my teacher in Myanmar before I met him, when I heard about him. Because I've been looking for a teacher for 10 years, a teacher to ordain with, right? Because in the Goenka meditation retreats, there were sometimes some lay teachers at the center, and I was lucky there were some good teachers actually who were lay people. And that inspired me because being Asian, perhaps, they were already quite respectful of the Sangha. So when I told them I wanted to ordain, I remember one of my Nepali teachers, he had a real gleam in his eye, like he was really proud of me and really excited by that. So that was sweet. But so I was asking around for 10 years and preparing myself and doing lots of meditation. I mean, it was like 10 retreats, sitting and serving every year and not much else, Had to fly over here and work a bit. And then finally, I was in India in 2003, during my degree for my 3-month summer. I'd go there and meditate. And someone told me that there's a Burmese monk who's in that tradition, the lineage of like Ledi Sayadaw and Sayagyi Ubakin, and that he's starting a monastery and he's going to have Westerners as well. and also that he had some attainments. He was known to have like very deep practice from a really young age. And I was just, my face lit up. I was just pretty much jumping for joy when I heard this. And I decided, okay, I'm still doing my degree. I only did the degree because I couldn't find anywhere to ordain. And my mom told me, you can do this degree, like you can get a student loan, because I hadn't done one. I thought, I'll just do it as a backup. And, you know, it's typical. You start to do it and then you find your teacher. So I went over for the 3 months in 2004, and there he was. And he looked like the exemplary monk. And interestingly, about a year or two later, he told me that he'd already met me in India when I was studying Pali there. And he'd remembered. And then I remembered this time that I'd walked out of the Pali area, and there'd been this monk with some stature. You know, he looked quite very mindful and peaceful and, yeah, quite impressive. And I think I'd seen him there, yeah. So it was kind of an intuition. It was like just knowing that this is my teacher. And he really took me in like a daughter. And then with Ajahn Brahm, it was like I said, you know, I heard the talk and it was the emotional response. I was just full of pity, and I could tell somehow, or at least I felt, I had confidence that whatever he was saying was coming from experience. And it was the same, right? The same insights, the same kind of Dhamma that I'd already learned, because the Dhamma is universal and the mind is universal. So, you know, I just gained this great confidence. But it's difficult, you know, to have a lot of contact with Ajahn Brahm. I'm very fortunate because due to my project and some karma there with him, I think I get to be here every year on the Rains. So far, except for Corona. And, you know, we're doing the project in England, so we have regular contact. And sometimes you just resonate. With Ajahn, I resonated with the teachings, first of all, so I didn't expect a sort of any kind of personal contact, but somehow it's just very natural, you know. I think a lot of these things are past lives. We just meet the people we're meant to meet, and you know, even if it's not perfect, you make the best of the opportunities you have. Yeah. But I do think it's amazing good karma if we can have a teacher or someone. I mean, it might be a spiritual friend. It doesn't have to be an ordained monastic or anyone that, you know, is fully enlightened, because we don't really know. But it's really helpful to have somebody to talk to about your practice over the years, because they get to know you, and so the advice becomes very personal. You know, and for me with Ajahn, I mean, he's seen me in every possible state of mind. Not every, because I'm not enlightened. So, but you know, he's seen me in my lowest, really lowest. And when someone still trusts you and still stays steady for you through all of that, then you think, wow, and they don't judge you. Then I think you found your teacher. You know.
Thanks very much. There's a question from Seri.
I've got so many questions. Will your monasteries have retreats like this, or they're small?
For me, I haven't had anything. It's not here yet. It's still manifesting. But it will not be a retreat like this. For me, I will be in Perth. So I don't need you. You can come to Jhana Grove. There's 2 monks and nuns monastery. And I have been looking after Ayya for the last 12 years, so I am looking forward to some time of a bit of a simple and quiet life, so that I have a bit of time to practice on my own. But people, of course, can come and stay, but you don't need to do so much work for nuns or for the monastic, for the lay people. Just only 4 or 5 people, and I'm happy to teach. Unfortunately, when you get senior, you don't have. You will be asked to teach wherever you go anyway. So I will not be. So the hermitage actually is called Patacha Bhikkhuni Hermitage. So it is established already. We have is a registered association. We actually have a commission members as well. So it's not new, and we have a group of Dharma people. When I was still looking after Ayya, I used to do a meditation day. And so Vesak meditation day or special days like we have end of the rain ceremony, but it's only 2 bhikkhunis. And the people, I was told that it is 1,000 over people for the Katina here. But for Epatachara, we only have 70 or 50. There's not a lot compared to here. It can be more, but because at that time I'm not in a property of our own, we are very lucky that a lay person, actually a laywoman, invited us to be there because she was sick. So then we are restricted to the number of people who can be there. So even meditation day, 20 people, 25 people, that we can invite. So that's for me.
Well, for me, it's even smaller because it's so expensive and so difficult. Like I say, it's been 7 years for me without a place to actually stay. The first 4 was living with lay people, a week here, 2 days here, 3 days here, literally, with my computer organizing tours for Ajahn Brahm, and it was very tiring. Sometimes I could go to other people's monasteries, but then I'd have their schedule on top of mine. So, or should I say my schedule, my tour organization and project, kind of trying to get things together on top of their monastery schedule. So we've only just got a place and it's pretty small. What we have been doing is hiring kind of conference centres in England, but it's difficult because due to Corona, the 2 in the whole country that were the right size for Ajahn Brahm have now gone under completely. So that's really tough to find a suitable place. They cost a lot to hire. So like Ayya Seri, really, I give a lot of online teachings, and hopefully if my volunteers get a bit more enthusiastic, they might organise some retreats for me to teach in other places. But at the moment, I'm organising everything. So, that becomes a little bit too much. I think it's important to just point out that whilst most people here might feel that it's just as beneficial, you want bhikkhunis just as much as you want bhikkhus, it's not reflected in the support we get. Bhikkhu monasteries are supported by their lineage countries, so this place gets support from many places, but also they have things like the royal Katina from Thailand, right? There's nothing like this for bhikkhunis. We don't have some kind of lineage. There's a huge gap between the Buddha and now, actually about 1,000 years of gap with no Theravada bhikkhunis. So when you hear Ajahn talking about stories about forest monks, it's forest monks, and it's wise old monks, and it's life in monks' monasteries, and tudong for monks. But for nuns, this is not really a possibility. So it's very, very new, very, very new for women. We're fortunate that we can spend some time here, but once we leave here, we live in a small house, and at least in England, I have to run a website, a Facebook page, a YouTube channel, a newsletter. It's a lot of work to try to have some visibility and raise some support. So luckily, I have Ajahn Brahm to help. So we have managed to get some funds, and the idea would be to get maybe a 5-bed, bigger house in the countryside somewhere that there's a bit of land. A bit of land in England is 1 or 2 acres, that's a bit of land. And maybe have some outdoor accommodation, like some caravans or maybe kutis if we can get the permission. But whilst I'm still only 1 bhikkhuni, it's tricky. That's why I say I need an elephant or a monkey. Unless you want to come. There was the story, about the elephant and the monkey looking after the Buddha, offering food. So, yeah, it'll take time.
I encourage all of you, if you can, support the bhikkhunis and nuns if you want them to be in assistance. I heard a lot of story about Ayya. She, in Sri Lanka, she said one of the most difficult things is to find a place to stay. When she was 1985, she was in Sri Lanka. She said she got to do the same thing. She go from house to house to do house sitting. So they have 2 nuns. So she have another Sri Lankan nun. There's Sister Damadini. I think she already passed. Both of them passed away now. So they will go from one place to another. They don't have a place to stay. And people invite them to dana. And that's why she very determined when being invited by BSWA, she come. She wanted to establish a place for the nuns to stay. I must say, as far as I understand, outside Western Australia, the support is for nuns is not so great. Yeah, even here, yeah. Well, I'm one of the, yes, I can understand because I'm not affiliated with Buddhist Society now. So as long as I'm here, no, it's okay. We have a support group. For me, I have a support group because I have been here for a long time. I was from Perth, so I work in Perth. Some of the supporters, like I saw them, they're still a baby, coming to the pharmacy. Their mother get their antibiotics while working as a pharmacist. That's how I know them. Some of the doctors that I work with them, and they're now retired. So I know the community here, so slightly different from my Canda. But I understand, I do the one-man show too. I do organize my own retreat. I spoke to Ajahn that he suggests that I offer services, that means talks and teaching in Fremantle area, which BSWA do not reach that area. So I need to do organization of finding a locations and looking for a place to do the teaching. And that's how we can get hopefully some more donations for our property that we are looking for. So it's still more difficult, but in Western Australia at least we are more well known. There's Bhikkhuni here, but I think outside, hard. Any other questions? Yes.
Thank you, Ayya.
Just firstly, Venerable Canda, I love the word, the English bhikkhuni. It sounds like the English patient, only better.
The English pastry.
English Patient, the movie.
Oh, okay.
But I'm just wondering, how do you, both of you, like you talked a little bit about how you're not as well supported, do you get outright prejudice from traditional people or even from bhikkhunis, and how do you handle that?
Yeah. That's a big question. There's prejudice everywhere, I would say. In Thailand, as a Burmese nun, I was always asked, why you wear this colour? You shouldn't wear this colour. It was a different colour than the white colour. So in Burma, it's still 8 precepts, but it's more like you are like a nun. I mean, that is the non's ordination platform. So you're not considered a lay person, but they didn't like that in Thailand, and it was consistent wherever I went. So that was a bit disappointing. And of course, it's not it wouldn't be everywhere. There's one monk, Ajahn Brahm, who does have one bhikkhuni staying with him. Ayya Nirodha actually is there. I think there's only one bhikkhuni. There might be another bhikkhuni, and there's a samaneri as well. In Burma, it's illegal, so it's not even a question, so you wouldn't even exist there. You'd be imprisoned or you'd be in danger if you were there. One of my friends stayed there for a while, and sort of a little bit undercover. I mean, she didn't say that she's a bhikkhuni. And then at one point, people started to find out, and she was quite frightened. She was okay in the end. In Myanmar, Burma. Mm-hmm. And then in England, it's very hard because here, the main Sangha, Ajahn Brahm, Ajahn Brahmali, are very, very strong supporters of bhikkhunis, and they, ask people to support the bhikkhuni Sangha. So they have a forest monastery, which is very beautiful, and it's well supported, so people can have a very secluded and meditative life. They don't have to do much teaching. It'd be nice if they did a bit more teaching. Maybe I shouldn't say that, but I'd love to hear the bhikkhunis do more teaching myself, because there's some really, really wonderful nuns there. And it's wonderful that Seri is going to be here to teach people, because you've got so much wisdom and so much maturity and practice. You know, it's really inspiring for me. It doesn't mean only this. But you've had very good training, and I'm so impressed by the way you cared for your teacher. It's just moving, you know, it's incredibly moving. I don't know anyone else who's done something like that. It's
Well, I'm very lucky. I have met Ayya. She's a very great teacher. So we go both ways at everything. Because I'm lucky that I'm grateful to have the teaching from her. Even though she was quite sick, she's still, you know, offering me the teaching. I'll go, like last year, she entered into palliative care last year in June. In May, I asked her, what do you think that I should, the topic, she encouraged me to do the Vesak Meditation Day. Most of us online because we have all shut down. And I asked her, what's the topic? She can't speak really well. She'll spell it out for me. What is the topic that I should talk about? So and teaching about her during sickness and death. So it is a great teaching for me. But I must say, yeah, the support is, I'm lucky in a way, I'm here. But even though I say lucky, for Ayya, she used to teach once a month, and she do the weekend retreats, and that's how she built up the support for Dharmasara Nuns Monastery. So someone got to do a lot of work beforehand. And I was one of the early bhikkhuni nuns there, so I know how much work that we do, you know, physical work. You heard all the monks talking about it. The nuns now probably don't need to do so much. I used to need to carry, we do work as not just sweeping, but building embankment with the rocks and carry the rocks. We don't drive. We got to carry using a wheelbarrow to wheel it from one side to another because the rocks embankment, because of there's water erosion. So we know all about that. I learned about the water tank. I used to tell someone that I say, I'm not going to do the water tank anymore. I used to jump into the water tank to clean the big water tank that up there, and also small water tank that are with each kuchis. So I used to jump in there, because at that time I was young, so to really scrub the tank and drain the water. So we do all those things, climb up on top of the roof to clear all the gutters ourselves. I'm scared of heights. But I have a great teacher because there's not many of us then. So manpower is difficult. And Ayya, she's so agile. She get up to the roof. So I say, okay, I will come along, because I don't want her to do all the work by herself. So I get up there as well. So that's, we used to do a lot of work too. I think, so then teaching. So when you go back to, you say about discrimination, it is hard when I came from a family that I'm not from a Buddhist family, but my parents think that I have the same potential as a male. So they didn't think that even though I'm a female, I will not be able to achieve the same way. So they let me study so I can, I went to university, they pay for all my fees and everything. So because they have the belief, they're confident that even though I'm a daughter, a female, I have the same potential. So when I come to Buddhism, being told that I can't ordain as the same level initially, I did have some doubts and thinking about, should I ordain or not in this tradition? Because it's hard to, as I say, I finished studying pharmacy, I work as a pharmacist, and I can do whatever I want to do, and then I keep on doing a study naturopathy. So there's nothing stop me in the so-called normal world? Career or normal world. But then when you come to the Buddhist world, I was told that now there's no full ordination. I must say, I also need to give credit to Ajahn Sujato. I went to the Bhikkhuni conference in Santi Monastery. Ajahn Sujato at the time was the abbot. I remember he's told me that rebel if they don't do Bhikkhuni ordination. Well, probably asked me to do, well, I don't know what I'm going to do, but I was attending the Bhikkhuni ordination conference. I was really interested to be able to ordain at the time once I find out that we can ordain. I remember that there's a conference in Germany, Hamburg. Dalai Lama was telling the nuns who want to have a Bhikkhuni ordination, say that, well, you need to learn the Patimokkha. Actually, I went back, I heard that, and I'm still a seminary. I started to memorize the Patimokkha in Pali. I'm not a Bhikkhuni then, because I would like to be able to push it forward, to have the opportunity to ordain, and to be able to show that, well, the monks can chant Patimokkha, so are we. Female, we are the same. We're the same brain, same mind, same, to have the same opportunity. Yes, but I'm lucky that we are very fortunate and very happy and grateful that we can ordain as Bhikkhuni. So, and all of you are here willing to listen to us, so sadhu to you. It's horrible that...
Could I say one more thing about the situation in England? Could I say something? And also just to contrast it with my experience in Myanmar, because it's so important to be able to have the full ordination, to receive it, because this is the Buddha's gift to us. And yet at the same time, in Myanmar, I had the same practice opportunities as anyone else. I found the teacher, I had a kuti, I was supported to live a holy life, and so I had a very, very conducive practice and opportunities. It was deeply inspiring. I felt like I was living in the time of the Buddha or something like this. So the irony is that now I have the full ordination, and over here in Perth, that felt incredibly special, and there is a forest monastery for nuns. But in England, the Sangha do not support Bhikkhuni ordination, so they actively, I don't know if they really discourage people from supporting us, but they certainly don't say anything positive, and they're not forwarding the conversation at all. So, there was a little clip of a question someone asked to a couple of the monastics there about gender equality, and there was just defensive answer, and then that little clip, the whole video, was removed from the website. And so, there is an ordination platform in England to ordain on literally 10, it's actually like a novice ordination, but they observe 150 precepts. So they have a training that's very similar.
That's what Dhammasara used to be.
Right, okay. It's similar to the Bhikkhuni ordination, but it's actually not recognised. You're not recognised, and you're not officially part of the Sangha. So you're still in a subservient role, and you still depend on the monks for support. So for me, being a bhikkhuni in England is extremely difficult, and I don't get much alms food at all. Once every 2 weeks, something like that. And if we had a place with enough for 3 people in the living room, it'd be enough. No, we need a slightly bigger place. But, I don't think I've ever had more than 4 at the same time, and it's rare. And I think this is because there is a Sangha, and that Sangha has decided not to do the full ordination for women, and people accept it because it's better than not having a Sangha, right? And there's a lot of good teachers, good monastics, good senior nuns as well, who've been in robes much longer than me. So it's very, very hard in that context to actually bring anyone to us, because people have so much respect for the monks. Here, if Ajahn Brahm says support bhikkhunis, people will be influenced by that. If he was saying don't, people would be influenced by that. So that's the difference in England, I think. So for me, there's also a psychological effect of the discrimination long term, because we have to work much harder, and we have to be all-rounders and do things we maybe don't feel ready for, like teaching. I'd quite like to be further on the path before I start to teach. And so because of that, we feel tired, we feel overstretched, and then we don't appear so peaceful and calm as monks who don't have very much to do, right? So then that reinforces the gender stereotype that women, they have more difficulties, maybe they're weaker, they get upset or whatever. So after a while, when it's so much harder and you're not getting the support that would normally be engendered by that much work, you start to think, is it me? Is there something wrong with me, And this is the real difficulty for me long term, and it gives me a lot of doubts about, there's nothing else I'm here for in life. I can't not be in robes. So then sometimes I feel I physically can't keep going, And then, wow, this is tough. So that's really hard, yeah.
Just before we finish, one of the reasons, just for the female as well, and for all of you to understand is, when you go to interview with Ajahn Brahm, he can't really talk too much about his meditation. But being a bhikkhuni, we are part of the Sangha. I did that over the reigns. We can flesh out our bhikkhuni privilege card. I can ask him direct question. Like, he probably can't tell you whether he ever, whatever attainment he has, but he have to be honest and talk to me about it. So I can, because I asked, he can't, I think I was asking him a question. He got to ask, I have a chaperone, he got to ask the chaperone to walk out of the door. Some of you might be there, walk out of the door and walk back quickly, because he can't say something in front of a layperson, but he can say that to me. That's one of the incentives for, at the time, Ayya was really keen to push for the bhikkhuni ordination too. So for us to advance on the path, you need to be able to hear someone. Ajahn Brahm has explained a lot, but you want to hear more details. So that is one of the advantages of being a Sangha. Sangha means ordained as a monk or a nun. Then it gives us opportunity to choose. We have equal opportunity to be able to attain whatever state or whatever practice that the Buddha had described. Before we have someone to be able to discuss directly, it's hard. I've been to some discussion, they are talking, some monks, and not Ajahn Brahm, talking about some attainment of other monks. They you can't really, some information be withheld. That I can't really join the share in. But with that, we feel that we have the confidence that we will have the same potential, same opportunity now to be able to practice to the same, if possible, to the same as the monks, because we have teachers who can share with us now. So hopefully, if you're considering, any one of you considering ordination, that is one of the incentives that why we would like to have bhikkhuni ordination. Just like when Canda says, she have the support, but she's not part of the Sangha. You still cannot know all the information, but you still can't get all the support. She's lucky to have a teacher who have the support, that offer her the support. As I say, Ayya and the other nun in Sri Lanka, they don't. They got to walk a fair way to a dana and just stay in someone's house, from house to house sitting, something like house sitting. So they offer to the nuns to stay for a few months while they are away, and they come back. So these two nuns got to move to another location to look for another place among villages. In a Buddhist country. But the monk in the Buddhist country have a big monastery, but the nuns no. They got to move from one place to another. So it's just fortunate here, yeah, but
this is very exceptional.
Venerable Canda, keep going.
Thank you.
You have the same potential. True? Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. I wish her well as well.
How do you survive on alms food once a
Once every 2 weeks. Well, what it means is that I have to, again, be very visible and try to talk about what the project's about and why it's good to come and stay in a monastery. And so I have to have guests coming to stay. But usually I only have one, and I have to try and seal the gaps. So, people apply, and then I have to try and make sure there's someone to cover it all the time, and they cook. But on the positive side, like Ayya Seri says, we have funds, we have actually donations. So one of the things we can do if we really need to is, get in groceries and things like this, and then the lay guest cooks. But during the Corona period, it was quite lovely because I did a lot of teaching online, like 3 a week or something like this for the online community. And we gathered people. Many of you are here, actually, and I've met a few people here who say, we've been coming to your talks, which is very touching because I haven't met most people. I just know them on Zoom. Anyway, as a result of that, throughout the pandemic, people would offer the weekly shop. So from those Zoom attendants, I got, I think, a vegetable box and a weekly shop every week. But I had to cook because it was Corona and there were no guests. I couldn't really have guests. So there is an allowance in the Vinaya that Ajahn Brahm and Ajahn Brahmali told me about, that you can cook in times of danger and difficulty, famine and difficulty, something like this. So I had no choice. It was strange after 17 years in robes now, not cooking. I can still cook though. So I saw it like, okay, I just try to, make it a practice of compassion. So yeah, it's a very different system, and it's a lot more work because we have to book people in, and even people coming for dana, they have to kind of book in first because I'm alone. So it's very different. Yeah, it's very, very different. There's a lot of organising to actually receive the dana. But I'm fat enough. I'm following in the footsteps of my teacher. Almost.
I think it's the same thing.
No, really. I've gained 5.
Since 3 years ago when I saw you.
I was overweight that time.
Just want to say that it's the same thing with Dharmasara in the beginning. There's a roster in Dharmaloka for Dharmasara Nuns Monastery. And someone got to put in to bring dana. Now you could see lots of people going. That's after how many years? In the beginning, I was one of the people who bring dana. I could see that, they must have one person to bring dana to Ayya because otherwise she's so far away from everyone else. I think she got the lay supporter quite close, but still 15 minutes away. So there's a roster for people to bring dana at Dharmasara initially. One person, and then other people join in. So starting work is hard. Yeah. And people don't have the tradition of supporting the nuns. So when they heard there is a place, I suppose, in Bodhayana, traditionally those Thai people, they knew what the monk is, so they come straight away. For the nuns, they are not quite sure initially. So it's all hard work by all the people before us. And now Ajahn just still need to do the work in England.
I just want to thank you for that, because you were one of the first bhikkhunis here, and I think what you and Ajahn Vayama and the other two have done, in having the courage, because we often praise Bhante Sujato and Ajahn Brahm and Ajahn Brahmali rightly, because we need those monks to support and, educate the public that it is legal according to the Vinaya and it's possible and they want to support it. But actually it's the women who took the ordination who deserve the praise, because they had a lot of, there were people objecting. There were senior Sangha members from different countries objecting to that and giving a lot of pressure for them not to do that, right?
And also family members.
And you had to be so strong. So there's a big sacrifice in kind of forging paths. And I think, as bhikkhunis, we kind of count as a marginalized group. Yes. Sometimes you could call us an endangered species, but we're coming back from the brink. So please just help us to, take the next steps. Thank you so much. Thank you.
nice to have a chat with all of you.
Yeah, maybe both Ayya, Seri and Canda, if people want to find out more about your respective projects, where should they go to find you online, for example? Last question before we break up for a very short.
I have some info. I don't have information here. You can Google for me, Patachara, P-A-T-A-C-A-R-A, Patachara Bhikkhuni Hermitage. Or you can Google my name, Ayya Seri. It should be on, because we have a website. Or Ayya Vayama, whoever that you can remember the name. Otherwise, it's Patachara Bhikkhuni Hermitage. I can give you the information sheet.
It would be great to print out and tomorrow just have that out there for people.
I have it. I can just bring it down. It's already print out. Then you just go onto the website.
I have a few leaflets out there, actually. There's a few leaflets, only little ones. But yeah, we are called Anukampa, A-N-U-K-A-M-P-A, Anukampa. It means compassion, but it means the compassion that resonates, like empathetic compassion, that's active, that manifests in action. I love that word. So it's Anukampa Project.org is the website. So it's a project because it's, still taking shape. And we have a YouTube channel, Anukampa Bhikkhuni Project. There's heaps of talks from Ajahn Brahm, Ajahn Brahmali, and me, and other bhikkhunis too. During this entire retreat, I had a bhikkhuni speaker every week on my channel, so you can actually come to our Zoom talks. That's a great way to be involved because then you get to know the community, at least online. And I think what we need more than anything is volunteers and people locally. I mean, if you want to visit and stay, this is wonderful. It's the human power that we need, even more than the funds. I mean, funds is important to get a bigger place, but it's people. Because being just alone for a long time can get a little bit, am I doing this for myself? I'm not actually, so why is there only me? Like, if nobody's really interested, then I don't know what I could do, something else. So it'd be really nice to have more people involved, and you're welcome to visit from wherever you are. Yeah.
Thank you very much, Ayya.
Thank you.
Anyway, feel free to just approach both Ayyas to send
Yeah.
contacts or anything else that you can.
And for the Singaporeans, I mean, you come here every year, you can visit Ayya.
Yes, you can. If I have a place, you can definitely
It's very
come
near.
to see me. I not plan to be here next rains because I'm in Perth. I definitely can come out here to listen to the talk anyway, to Ajahn Brahm's talk during the rain, so I don't need to stay here. So other nuns have the opportunity to come here to stay. So I hope to leave here by April next year or something. But you can come to approach me if you want me to write down the Hermitage address. You can Google them. It's all the pictures, and you can see all the pictures with me. And I have been posting because the Hermitage is established in 2011. All the way until now, it's still in existence. We don't have a place. At the time, we have a temporary place.
And those who have relatives or connections in Oxford, UK,
London as well, anywhere in England, yeah, anywhere. Yeah, because we need to tap into the Buddhist communities because you understand what this is about. And this is the tricky part, yeah. Wonderful. You have the opportunity to strengthen Buddhism in the world because the Buddha said that we need the fourfold assembly and only then has Buddhism truly arrived. So, very good. Thank you for all your support.
Thank you. It's wonderful.